Hi guys, welcome to another wonderful session of learning with Prepclass. My name is Tutor Olalikon Israel and I am super excited to be on your screens once again. I hope you are as excited as I am because this session promises to be fun and educative. So, without wasting much time, in today's session, we will be answering questions from the JAMB English 2019 past question 31 to question 35. Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Click on the notification bell so you can be notified whenever we upload any new content. Alright, let's begin. Question 31. Now, the instruction reads, in each of the questions 31 to 40, but in this video, we are answering just question 31 to 35. So, in each of the questions 31 to 35, choose the most appropriate options opposite in meaning to the word or phrase in italics. Choose the most appropriate option opposite in meaning to the word or phrase in italics. So, we have to select the option that is the most appropriate opposite to the word in italics. Question 31. He gave a painstaking account of his encounter with the ghost of his father. He gave a painstaking account of his encounter with the ghost of his father. Now, the word in italics here is painstaking. So we have to select the option that is the opposite of painstaking. Option A, sordid. Option B, fearful. Option C, half-hearted. Option D, tender-hearted. So, which of these options is the opposite in meaning to painstaking? Now, what does the word painstaking mean? The word painstaking means to be done carefully, to be careful, to be thorough and diligent. So while he was giving the account of his encounter with the ghost of his father, he was very careful, he was thorough, not missing any detail. He was diligent, he was passionate. He was very careful when he was giving the account of his encounter with the ghost of his father. He took his time to point out every detail from the encounter he had. So it was painstaking, it was careful, it was thorough, it was diligent, it was passionate. So the options are sordid. Sordid means involving immoral and dishonorable action and motive. Fearful means showing fear and anxiety. Half-hearted means to be without enthusiasm. To be without enthusiasm and energy. To be lukewarm, superficial and lackluster. So when he was giving his account of his encounter with the ghost of his father, he was half-hearted. He was doing it without enthusiasm, without passion, without energy. He was just giving the account like he's not interested. Tender-hearted means having a kind and tender heart, to be affectionate. So, going back to the meaning of painstaking, which means to be careful. So, while giving his account of the encounter with the ghost of his father, he was careful, he was thorough, he was passionate and diligent. So the answer, which is the opposite of painstaking, is half-hearted. To be without enthusiasm and energy, was just giving the detail without any interest, without any passion, to be lukewarm, to be superficial and lackluster, without interest, without passion. So the answer to this question is half-hearted. He gave a half-hearted account of his encounter with the ghost of his father. Half-hearted is the opposite of painstaking. Painstaking means to be done passionately, to be done carefully, thoroughly and diligently. Half-hearted means to be done without enthusiasm and energy, in a lackluster fashion. So, moving on to the next question, question 32. Remember, we have to select the option that is the opposite of the word in italics. Question 32 reads, if you are really keen on immediate results, you just have to adopt his pragmatic approach. If you are really keen on immediate results, you just have to adopt his pragmatic approach. So which of these options is the opposite of pragmatic? Pragmatic is the word in italics. The options we have are practical, B, unrealistic, C, opportunistic, and D, sensible. So what does the word pragmatic mean? It is when we know the meaning of pragmatic, that is where we can select the option that is the opposite of pragmatic. Now, pragmatic means doing something in a sensible and realistic way. A pragmatic approach means doing something in a sensible and realistic way that is practical and not theoretical. So, if you are really keen on immediate results, you just have to be pragmatic. You just have to adopt this pragmatic approach. You just have to do this in a sensible and realistic way, in a practical way, not based on theories, not based on what you read, in a practical way, something that is sensible, something that is realistic. So the options: practical is synonymous with pragmatic. So practical is not the answer because we have to select the opposite, the antonym, and not the synonym. Unrealistic means not realistic, impractical. So this is the answer to this question. Remember, pragmatic means to be done in a sensible and realistic way, in an achievable way, in a practical way. Now, unrealistic means in a way that is not realistic, in an impractical way. It's not opportunistic, because opportunistic means to take advantage of opportunities as they arise. It is not sensible, because sensible means to do something in a reasonable and practical way. Now, this is also synonymous with pragmatic, but unrealistic means doing things in an unrealistic way, in an impractical way. So, if you are really keen on immediate results, you just have to adopt his pragmatic approach, his sensible approach, his realistic approach, his practical approach. But unrealistic means not realistic approach, an impractical approach. So, the answer to this question is unrealistic. Moving on to the next question, question 33. Remember, we had to select the option that is the opposite of the word in italics. Question 33 reads: measures were taken to authenticate the number of the booklets received. Measures were taken to authenticate the number of the booklets received. Now, the options we have are affirm, option B, discredit, option C, discountenance, and option D, count. Now, the word in italics is authenticate. So what is the meaning of authenticate? When you're trying to authenticate something, what are you trying to do? Now, the word authenticate means to prove or show something to be true. To prove or show something to be true, to be genuine. To prove that something is genuine and valid. So, basically, this means that measures were taken to confirm the number of the booklets received, to prove. So, if you say that you have given us 300 booklets, we have to authenticate, we have to confirm. There has to be a proof to show that, yes, these are the amount of booklets received. It has to be genuine, it has to be valid that, okay, these booklets received are actually 300 in number. So, authenticate means to prove or to show. So, it means to prove or to show something to be true, to be genuine and valid, to confirm. Now, the options. Affirm means to validate, to confirm something. So, this is synonymous with authenticate. Discredit means to disgrace or dishonor, to harm the reputation of someone. Discountenance means to refuse to approve of. Count means to determine the total number of, or to take into account. Now, this is also synonymous with authenticate. For you to authenticate the number of booklets received, you have to count. You're trying to confirm. Authenticate means to prove or show something to be true. Now, the answer is discountenance, which means to refuse to approve. You disapprove. Discountenance means to refuse to approve of. That means you do not approve of the number of booklets received. Instead of you trying to authenticate it, you are disapproving the number of booklets received. Discountenance means to refuse to approve of. So, the answer to this question is discountenance. Alright, moving on to the next question, question 34. Question 34 reads: remember, we had to select the option with the opposite meaning to the word in italics. So, question 34 reads: the girl's idiosyncrasy was a passion for bread and butter. The girl's idiosyncrasy was a passion for bread and butter. The word in italics here is idiosyncrasy. So, option A, stupid outburst. Option B, general tendency. Option C, singular characteristic. And option D, occupational calling. The girl's idiosyncrasy was a passion for bread and butter. Now, the word in italics is idiosyncrasy. What does the word idiosyncrasy mean? Now, the word idiosyncrasy means a mode of thought or behavior peculiar to a person. So, this girl can actually die for bread and butter. She's so more passionate about bread and butter. It's an idiosyncrasy. It's a peculiar behavior, a behavior peculiar to her. Now, general tendency means something that a good number of people consider acceptable and normal. General tendency means something that a good number of people consider acceptable and normal. Now, idiosyncrasy, on the other hand, deals with peculiarity, peculiar to a person. The girl's idiosyncrasy was a passion for bread and butter. We're talking about something that is peculiar to this girl in question. But general tendency means something that is generally acceptable, something that a good number of people consider acceptable and normal. So, idiosyncrasy deals with peculiarity, general tendency deals with something general. So, these are antonyms. Idiosyncrasy is peculiar, general tendency is general. So, the answer to this question is general tendency. The girl's idiosyncrasy was a passion for bread and butter. Idiosyncrasy means something that is peculiar to someone. General tendency means something that is generally acceptable. So this is the opposite of idiosyncrasy. Right. Moving on to the next question, question 35. Question 35 reads, she was immune to the flattery of young men. She was immune to the flattery of young men. Remember, we had to select the option that is the opposite of the word in italics. Now, the word in italics is immune. So the first option, option A, is rejuvenation. Option B, decline. Option C, turbulence. And option D, upheaval. So which of these options is the opposite of immune? Now, what does the word immune mean? To be immune means to be resistant to something. You are not moved. It doesn't affect you. So the young girl is not moved by the flattery of young men. She is not moved. She is resistant to it. So the options, option A, rejuvenation, means to give new energy to revive. Decline means to reduce or to lessen. Turbulence means to be violent, to be unstable, instability. Upheaval means to be upset, to become suddenly violent. Immune means you are not moved, you are resistant. But upheaval means to be upset. So the girl is always upset by the flattery of young men. She always becomes violent when young men flatter her. She becomes upset. Now, this is showing that the girl is actually moved. Immune means she's resistant, she's not moved. But upheaval means to become upset. So when you're upset, you're actually moved by what is being done to you. She becomes violent. So upheaval means to be upset, to become suddenly violent. So the answer to this question is upheaval. She was immune to the flattery of young men. The opposite of immune in this sentence is upheaval. Okay, and that is the end of this wonderful session. Please do not forget to subscribe to this channel, like and comment. Do not forget to share this post and more from our channels with your friends and loved ones. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.